But that wouldn't, just because you tried something that didn't work and cost you a bunch of money, but you want him to pay for it?
I had to watch this one like 5 times to completely understand it. So the homeowner needs something to keep water out of his basement. So he does a lot of the work himself, but he hires this company to take a pipe to go from his house down here to a creek that's slightly uphill. Not quite this dramatic, but a little bit. So he does that, but that doesn't work. The water rushes down into his basement. He calls the company, asks them to come back out. They say it'll be a couple days. So he calls another company. The other company comes out and says, well, it's going slightly uphill. Your idea is not going to work. Let's put in a huge pump, and this is going to cost $5,000 instead of $500. So now the homeowner's brought suit against the first contractor who just put in the pipe, which was what the homeowner asked for. He thinks he should pay for all the additional work that had to be done to make the pipe actually work the way the homeowner wanted it to work. Interesting. He doesn't explain things very well either.
Take yourself off mute. There you go. All right, so this is file 231994SC. Walters versus Precision Land Management. This is a small claims case. What we mean by that is the parties are here trying to resolve this in front of me by not using attorneys and not requiring a jury trial. In fact, if we proceed here today, parties will have forfeited their right to use an attorney, even on appeal, and or have a jury trial. So if both parties are willing to proceed at this time here in small claims, the first thing I'm going to do, first of all, let me figure out who's here. All right, so Mr. Wind, what do you do for Precision Land Management?
I'm the owner.
Owner, all right.
And operator, yep.
And you understand what I mean by if you requested this to go to general civil, it would go to general civil and would not be here in front of me.
Correct.
But that would generally mean you would use an attorney. And then is that a Mr. Walters? How do you say your first name?
Yes, Seats.
Seats, okay. So I cannot see you, but I had asked Mr. Walters if you would raise your right hand, the same way Mr. Wynn's going to raise his right hand so I could swear you in. Anything you would testify to here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I don't have too much information about these when I start. So Mr. Walters is a homeowner, correct?
Correct.
And then this is essentially the process that you were using to essentially make your basement watertight. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And I do see here that you have some paperwork you submitted. I'm not sure what that is, but West Michigan waterproofing. So that's who you used to do this work, correct?
Correct. After the fact, yes.
All right. So essentially what you're saying is Precision Land Management did something and that was not solving the problem. So West Michigan waterproofing came in, did some other work and solved the problem.
Correct. Well, kind of.
So what is it that Precision Land Management did?
Okay, they ran the drain pipe that was connected to my drain tile that I had installed around the basement uphill. Therefore, the water would not flow out and came all in the basement.
Okay, but when did that happen? When your house was built?
That was in the spring of this year.
Okay, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out when it is that Precision Land Management did something that you're suing them over.
Actually, the first time was 2022 in the fall. That's when he installed it.
Installed what?
The drain pipe that was supposed to drain all the water away from my drain tile that I had installed.
Okay. Who installed your drain tile?
I did.
All right. Because here's what I'm concerned about. I do see something here that says something about homeowner already had this trenched out. Homeowner was to cement over trench after completion. So what I'm asking you is what you did and then what Precision Land Management did. So you did all the drain tile and then Precision Land Management was supposed to come in and do what?
Are you asking me, sir?
Yes.
Okay, he was supposed to come in, dig the trench, which was approximately 8 feet deep, and ran the pipe from my drain, connected to my drain tile, out to the creek.
All right.
That was their job.
How long?
Oh, boy, I'd say maybe 20 feet, 30? No, longer.
All right.
40 feet,
And
maybe.
that. All right.
And it was very,
So, and I want to be very clear here. So what Precision Land Management did was create a trench down below the frost line, connecting your drainage from your house to a creek that's near your house.
correct,
How much they charge you for that?
500.
All right. And then that system between your drain tiles that you put in and this trench that Precision Land Management put in didn't work.
Correct. Which
When did you notice it didn't work?
in the spring, I have no clue. As far as I was concerned back then, it could have been my problem that, I did something wrong. So I was forced to hire this company, this West Michigan waterproofing, being my basement floor was floating on the water. Water was coming in daily on a daily basis. So I had to do something to save my
But
basement.
here's what I don't get. Here's what I don't get.
Okay.
Precision Land Management charged you $500. They dug a trench, put a drain pipe in, filled the trench back with dirt, and they're done, right?
Correct.
The next company comes in. Well, I don't even know how much they charge you because this says the full perimeter was $8,600.
5,500 because we did work ourselves.
Because he what?
Because me and my son cut the floor out for him. See, they did it on the inside. They put drain tile on the inside. So we had to cut the floor out part way. And then they installed the drain tile on the inside with a sump pump.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. It seems to me the most you could be suing them for is whatever it cost the next guy that you had to pay to dig that same 8 feet, 40 foot, put a line in that was angling down towards the creek instead of going up. That's the only thing you could sue him for.
No, I don't think so, sir, because I called Nate or I texted him, whatever I did, and notified him about the problem. So he came out the next day. He realized that he did wrong. I know he installed the drain pipe without a transit the first time around. The next day he came back and fixed the problem, which was appreciated. But still, I had to pay the additional money to West Michigan Waterproofing because the drain pipe he installed was going uphill and therefore couldn't take the water from the basement. So if he would have installed it correctly the first time around, we wouldn't have had any problem. Because since then, I had no water in the basement. That's why I waited till the spring was over to make sure.
And what does this say? There's a discount because you cut the trench already yourself?
No, sir, I just said, we cut the floor. The floor had to be cut inside in the basement. So me and my son did that to save some money. And
all right, but that's not what this says. I'm talking about your bill from West Michigan Waterproofing.
Yeah.
Dump on site at northeast corner of property. So that's not inside your house. That's outside your house.
Right, that's where the water is going to, the drain pipe.
Yep. And that homeowner saw cut trench already.
Trench on the inside. On the
Okay.
basement.
Homeowners. So what part of this bill is their outside work? Some pump isn't outside.
No, they didn't do anything outside. All they did is ran a pipe outside to the pipe Nate fixed. That's what they did.
All right, let me start all over again.
Yeah,
The part of this equation that you're saying that Nathan did wrong is a pipe that goes from the outside of your house to a creek about 40 feet away.
correct.
So how much did you have to pay another company to come in and do that pipe over again, but this time have it go downward instead of upward?
Nate corrected the problem, the second pipe in. The West Michigan Waterproofing Company ran it from inside the basement to that pipe. We would have never known the problem if they didn't dig it up. They had to dig it up for their pipe. That's how we found the problem. That's, I think,
Okay, so but you're saying Nathan fixed the thing he did wrong, he fixed that problem.
after the fact, yes.
All right, Mr. Wynn, I'll give you some time to talk because I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
Okay, everything that he stated was pretty much correct. I installed the corrugated pipe from his footing drain to the creek. He texted me on the 28th of April. Let me get my note real quick. April 28th, he texted me and said that he had the issue. So I think it was the beginning of May. I could get out there to look at it. When I got out there to look at it, it was already dug up and the pipe was smashed and pulled up. So I couldn't really determine what was wrong with it. But I did get a mini excavator out there and I installed solid pipe instead of the corrugated pipe from the house to the creek.
All right. Did you have to change the angle of this pipe or just the material of the pipe?
I changed the material of the pipe to
Yeah.
a smooth wall pipe. It flows water better. I used corrugated pipe the first time because that's what Homeowner had left over.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying. Let me start all over again. This is what Mr. Walters said in the 2 sentences that he's telling the court what went wrong. He said that the excavator ran a drain pipe uphill and therefore water will go uphill. So it did not go uphill from the drain tile to the creek.
Correct.
That's where I'm confused because I'm not sure why anyone would put the drain pipe going uphill. And that's why I'm asking you if you had to change the angle of the drain pipe.
I dug a whole new pipe in and used a level and put it in. And so I can't tell you if it was different than the first one because I just dug straight through the old pipe that was in there. So I couldn't tell you if the other pipe was running towards the house or towards the creek because like I said, when I got there, the pipe was already dug up and pulled up, in the pictures that are here, you could see the pipe was pulled up and smashed when they exposed it from the house.
And when you put the new pipe in, you just put it in the same trench the old pipe was.
Well, in theory, yes, but I had to redig the trench.
All right. So Mr. Walters, I'm going to go back to you.
Yep.
We're trying to figure out why this house was not draining correctly.
Right.
Right?
Well,
so you yourself did 90% of the work.
Yep.
And then Precision Land Management comes in, does the last 10% because all they did was put in this one pipe.
correct,
It's not working well.
correct.
So
we're
you dig up that pipe, smash it up.
No, nobody smashed it up. Not to my knowledge. But whatever.
Okay. But in other words, I'm saying, in how am I supposed to decide that it's this thing that he did that is the reason why you had to spend all this other money when you did all the work yourself? He didn't even get to come out and see the problem. By the time he came out, you were already, 75% of the way to fixing the problem. All he did was change the type of pipe.
Right. Again, the pipe that Nate ran caused all the issues. I mean, it should be
Yes,
obvious.
because you said he ran it uphill.
Correct, because I also said he didn't use the level of transit the first time around, which he did the second time around. So that should tell you something.
But what I'm saying is, I don't understand how you're determining that it's the pipe's fault.
Because when we disconnected the pipe, Nate was there. He seen the water rushing out from the drain tile that I installed. You can ask him. He can't really deny that because he was right there. And there's your answer. As simple as that.
Okay, but why then, instead of just hooking up the new pipe to that footing drain that you had put in, did we call another company in and then have them do thousands of dollars worth of work? It seems like
that was before the fact that we knew that this pipe was running uphill. Because like I said before, I had to do something because the floor is floating on the water. There's so much of water coming in.
Okay, but that wouldn't, just because you tried something that didn't work and cost you a bunch of money, but you want him to pay for it?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
All right, so your original system is mostly a bunch of stuff you did to your own house.
Yeah.
And one pipe that he came and put in.
Well, because 8 foot deep, I don't have an excavator. When I put the drain.
But I just so follow me. That's not working because you're getting water in your basement.
Yep.
So instead of having him come out and see if what he did is the reason and let him fix it, you went to another company, had them come in, do thousands and thousands of dollars work, basically redo your system inside your house, and it still didn't fix the problem, right?
No, that's when we discovered that Nate's pipe was running uphill. And I thought, oh,
okay. Crap. But what I'm saying is, even if I agree with you, it's Nate's uphill pipe that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is he paying you for your plan to bring in another company and redo all the work instead of letting him come out and see if it's something he did? Because when he did come out, it seems like he fixed what he did wrong.
Yeah, after the fact. I mean, we didn't know. He didn't know. He came out once in between that and saw that, okay, there must not be no problem because he didn't see no water coming up.
Here's the other problem. You want me to say that the whole problem is really his pipe, but we'll never know that because your system didn't work. You spent a bunch of money on somebody else's system that didn't work.
My system would have worked if this pipe was running downhill. That's what we discovered.
How are we ever going to know that?
Nate saw it. I mean, like I told you before, the water.
No, what Nate saw is after another company came in and did a bunch of work, and then you unhooked the pipe, a bunch of water came out, right?
Yeah.
So that's not your system. That's somebody else's system that you paid thousands of dollars for.
You're not understanding. That was my system that he hooked up to. Once that was cut, all the water kept rushing out, which was obviously working. Otherwise, the water wouldn't have rushed out, right? I think you're making this more difficult than it is.
Yeah, I don't think I understand the timeline. So you did a bunch of work on your own basement. When did you do that?
In the year of early 22.
All right. And then after you did that, he came out and put the first pipe in.
Yeah.
All right. Now that system isn't working because you're getting water in your basement.
Yep.
So what happened next? He came out and replaced that pipe, or you had West Michigan waterproofing come?
Yeah, I had West Michigan waterproofing come and figure out the problem. And
well, no, they didn't figure out the problem. They charged you a bunch of money, did a bunch of work, and it didn't fix the problem. right?
No, that's not exactly how it is.
All right, well, you're looking off to someone who's standing there all incredulous. Here's what I have, right? 2022, you did a bunch of work on your own house, right?
Yep.
And you had Precision Land Management come in, trench out a pipe. But that system, you plus land management, didn't work because you're getting water in the basement.
Correct.
You don't know what to do, so you start trying to solve that problem. But instead of, and you didn't solve that problem by having land management come out and replace the pipe. That happened later. The first thing that you tried is have West Michigan Waterproofing come out and do their work, right?
Correct. I had to do that because my basement.
So you spent $5,500 on them doing a bunch of work with land management's old pipe system in place. And then that scenario didn't work. You're still getting water in the basement.
No. As soon as Nate corrected the pipe, the angle of the pipe.
No. Nate isn't there yet. Listen to me, because I want to make sure I understand what you're saying, that I'm getting it all wrong. That's why I'm going A to B to C. When West Michigan Waterproofing came out and did all their work,
right,
you still have Precision Land Management's first pipe in place.
Correct.
And that system, all the work that West Michigan Waterproofing did, plus Precision Land Management's first pipe, that system didn't work. You were still getting water in the basement.
No, not really, because see, here again, after they did the work inside, they routed the drain tile on the inside of the basement, underneath the floor, put the sump pump in. They had to dig a hole outside, of course, to run a new pipe. That's how we discovered the pipe was going uphill. And well, there was, like I said again, I will say it again, that's when we cut the pipe off, all the water came rushing out. So that told us, oh, whoa, wait a minute, it is working. So if the original pipe that he installed would have been ran correctly downhill, there wouldn't have been any issue. And I had to do something because my basement.
So you're saying Nathan was standing there when West Michigan Waterproofing did all this work, opened up the system, and then water come running in?
Yes, correct.
All right, that didn't make any sense to me. So Nathan.
Yes, sir.
If you see that happen, what does that tell you where the problem lies?
The water is going to go to the path of least resistance. You open the pipe up, the pipe's not connected anymore because they dug it up. So it's going to dump into the hole that they dug on the side of the house. I kind of drew a picture of, oh, can you see this?
Doesn't really work great on Zoom, but sort of.
But anyways, so picture the house wall is straight. Then you have your footing that sits underneath. Do you know how that kind of works? So you have a footing and a wall that sits on there. When you install your footing drain tile, you're supposed to put the tile on the side of the footing. So it's below your basement floor, as I would say. The tile at Mr. Walters' house is installed on top of the footing. So any water that's underneath that pipe, if it's 3 to 4 inches above the footing or right on the footing, you could get 2 inches of water in your basement before that.
Who installed the drain tiles on the footing?
Mr. Walters.
The original system.
Correct. When
West Michigan Waterproofing come out and redid it, where'd they put the drain tile?
So Mr. Walters cut out the concrete in the basement around the edge of the footing, and they put tile in on the inside of his house along the edge of the footing to catch the water that's underneath the floor, which the outside tile won't catch that water because it's too high. And the tile should have been placed 6 inches lower in order to catch the water from going under the footing.
Okay, I follow that. I'm just trying to figure out how that's the fault of the pipe leading from the house to the creek.
Say that again.
I'm just trying to figure out how that is the fault of the pipe that you put in.
See, I can't tell you if my pipe was going uphill or downhill or sideways because you couldn't determine that with the state of the pipe when I arrived there. Because you can see in the picture, there's a big hole dug.
Yeah.
With the pipe pulled back right here.
Oh, I can see it.
So I couldn't tell you. And that's why I went in there, because I took his word for it and I put a new pipe in to make it right. And
you didn't charge him for that?
Correct. I put the solid pipe in, which is 3 times the amount of money as the corrugated, and I tied in his sump pump line at no charge.
I mean, that's where I'm stuck, Mr. Walters. I just don't see how Precision Land Management is supposed to pay you over, well, you're capped at $6,000. You can put $6,300 on here, but you're capped at $6,000. Well,
Again, if the tile was full of water, that tells you right there it wasn't draining out to the drain pipe, right? I mean, so that tells me that the drain tile I put down did its job. It was working correctly, because this year I didn't get a drop of water into the basement. And that's why I waited.
And here's the other thing I don't understand. So if it only costs $500 to put the new pipe in, why wouldn't you have tried that first before you spent $5,500 to fix this problem?
Again, that was after the fact. We didn't know that was the problem. So I was forced to do something now in order to save the basement and the floor. That's why I have
Sure, but
I mean, I called Nate.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is my specialty, but I sit here and do this all the time. It's
right.
Like a mechanic. When there's a problem with the car, it could be A, B, or C. What the mechanic does is try for his sort of what makes the most sense. What makes the most sense is either essentially the cheapest or easiest thing. Might as well try that first, see if it fixes it. I mean, essentially what you did is, instead of checking the whether or not the starter's working, you replaced the engine.
Yeah, but that's no comparison, sir.
Why not?
Because the pipe is 8 feet deep. I think he was going to dig all that up to check, like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, my pipe's going downhill.
But here's what I don't understand. It seems to me the first time that you told Precision Land Management about this problem, he comes out, he takes a look at it. He can't really tell whether it's his fault or not. You tell him it's his fault, and he says, you know what? Okay. He does a bunch of work to fix it, to upgrade it with better equipment, and then doesn't charge you for it. That sure seems like he was a smarter thing you should have checked first than going with this other company that said, sure, pay us a bunch of money and we'll do a bunch of work and we'll see if that works.
I think you're looking at it totally wrong, but whatever. I mean, he's an excavator. You'd think he'd know how to run a pipe, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. If someone was to run a pipe uphill and think water was going to drain uphill, I find that to be really basic mistake. Even as a layperson, I can say that. But okay. I don't have anybody saying that. I have you theorizing that. I have right. Mr. Wynn saying, I don't know, maybe that was it, so I just redid the pipe.
Right.
But essentially, I mean, even at a I'm going to give you another try here, because you were talking about something that Mr. Wynn did not do the first time, but he did do it the second time. And that's something that would inherently guarantee the direction of the pipe. What is it you're talking about? Because I'm not sure I know what that was. Mr. Walters.
What was the question?
Okay. You told me somewhere in the middle of all this that there was something that Mr. Wynn did differently the second time that he didn't right. do the first time to guarantee that that pipe was going essentially the right direction.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I didn't quite follow that because I don't know about this like you guys know about this. What
Okay.
was that?
He didn't use a transit the first time around. A transit is a measuring device that guarantees you which slope you're going, whether you go in the right way or not. The second time, however, he did use the transit, which you're supposed to do running a drain pipe. I mean, you'd be dumb not to because you don't know whether it's going uphill or not.
Well, I'm assuming by and large you kind of eyeball it, but I'll have Mr. Wynn tell me that. Mr. Wynn, you're going to dig a 40-foot trench, put a drain pipe in, and you need to make sure it's going downhill. How do you make sure it's going downhill?
Either a level or a transit, which the second time I used my transit, the first time I used a 4-foot level.
Okay, but your bubbles in the level didn't indicate you were building the trench going uphill, right?
Correct.
Do you ever get any water flow out of the pipe when you put it in and check the end that's supposed to go in the creek?
Say that again.
It seems to me that another sort of simple or easy way to do this.
We use 4-foot levels all the time. I still use one. I used one this morning, and that's what, you know, as you put the bubble on the one side of the line, you got a 1/4 inch.
And that makes sense to me. That's kind of what I thought you would use, but I guess there's a better way to do it. No, but here's my question is, wouldn't an also way to test whether or not 40-foot section of pipe was going to work or not is whether or not you got any water to come out the end of it?
Correct. When I installed the pipe, I don't think it was wet season because there wasn't any water in the trench when I dug it. So there wouldn't have been any water that would be coming out when I dug it because there was no groundwater at that point.
Sure, I'm just asking, do you hook up the pipe to the footing at the house last or first?
First, but what the tile does is just sucks water out of the ground. So if there's no water in the ground to suck out at that point, you're not going to have any flow. You know what I'm saying?
It just seemed to me that a sort of a foolproof way to test this after the fact is run some water through it, right?
Yeah, you can't get to it though. But yes, that would be a good
That's
idea.
what I meant by try to run some water through it before you connect it up.
Correct.
What's best practices, using the 4-foot level or using the transit?
Well, if it's 8 foot in the ground, it's hard because you got a stick and that's 10, 11 foot in the air that you got to try to maneuver around. So it's easier to use a level when you're that far in the ground.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Wynn. I've been doing a lot of the talking here because I wanted to make sure that I understood what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you saying at the end of the day, you know, we're not sure what went wrong with the system, but now the system works, so it works. Did you feel like you were beholden here to Mr. Walters for what was happening in his basement?
I felt that it was my issue because it was the pipe. I just took his word for it. That was the pipe, and I made it right, and I put a new one in.
All right. So he's here suing you for $6,000. Do you think that's right? Fair?
No, I do not. No.
And why not?
I think so. When he texted me on April 28th, and the invoice for the waterproofing company was the 21st.
Yeah.
So
I will tell you, I'm going to get to that. That essentially
so he didn't
you were
even
the afterthought there.
He didn't even give me a chance to come look at it before he called this other company in to do the stone and tile in the basement, which he should have did that because this was a new build house. I dug the basement and everything. It's the stone and tile in the crack is common practice to put in before you pour the basement. You should do this like you pour the walls, footings. You do tile and a crack in your basement, and then you pour the floor. So
well, at some point in time, you guys just need me to make a decision. Here's what I would have done in a heartbeat. I would have given you, Mr. Walters, I would have given you the money that you paid Precision Land Management back. But it seems like Precision Land Management came and then did more than $500 worth of work to try to fix this. But the problem is, I just think you went in backwards order. I think this was your first line of attack for $500 before you went and spent $5,500 a week prior to even calling Mr. Wind. And then I think to sort of, put the cart before the horse and then tell you, Mr. Wind, that he has to pay you for that decision, I just don't agree with it. I don't make a determination here that there is damages that would be owed. I do think there were damages, but I think that Mr. Wind had already done the materials and labors that would have more than paid whatever you paid him originally for this mistake. I think the real mistake was, like I said, sort of putting the cart before the horse and spending $5,500 before you tried spending $500.
I totally disagree there, but whatever, that's your opinion.
Yeah, and this is where the important part comes in. You have every right, if you disagree with my decision, to take this to general civil. Your two things you have to do for that is, one, you have to do that within 7 days of today's date. That window of opportunity closes. And then second, you have to come in and do that formally in writing. You can't just ask for it. But those are your rights on appeal to get this in front of the district court judges. Other than that, you will get a copy of this judgment, but this judgment would simply be dismissal without prejudice, meaning you could refile it. But essentially, I did not make a decision that any damages were ordered to change hands. So do you understand your rights on appeal, Mr. Walters?
Yeah, I do.
All right, then we are all set for what we needed to do here today. I'm going to go ahead and release parties. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.